In today's murder case, we're going to delve into the story of a notorious serial killer whose crimes took place in the city of Rockhampton. Rockhampton is a small coastal city in Queensland, Australia, known for its serene atmosphere and a small population. While Rockhampton's residents enjoy an average economic status, the city boasted relatively low crime rates in the 1990s. However, this tranquility would soon be shattered. On August 31, 1998, 14-year-old high school student Natasha failed to return home after school as expected. Worried, her mother immediately contacted the police to report her missing. Upon investigation, the police discovered that Natasha was a troubled teen. Her parents were divorced, and she lived with her mother and stepfather. Natasha was known to frequently skip school and had experimented with illicit substances. Despite her innocent appearance, she was not well liked at school and had few friends. The only person she had a close relationship with was her boyfriend, Scott. Prior to this disappearance, Natasha had run away from home twice with her boyfriend Scott's assistance. As a result, the police promptly brought Scott in for questioning. Scott insisted that he genuinely had no idea where Natasha was, and that he hadn't seen her for several days. The police sprang into action and launched an extensive search, with a large number of volunteers joining the effort. This search quickly became the largest in Queensland's history. Despite their best efforts, months passed, and Natasha remained missing. During this time, another disappearance took place. On December 27, 1998, 39-year-old Julie visited a local pub to drown her sorrows after a heated argument with her boyfriend. After leaving the pub around 2 a.m., she vanished without a trace. The police turned their attention to Julie's boyfriend, Michael, and discovered that before her disappearance, she had decided to end their relationship for good and had informed her friends. She was also searching for a new place to live. It seemed that Michael might be connected to Julie's disappearance. However, while the police were still handling Natasha's and Julie's cases, a third missing person case soon emerged. On March 1, 1999, a landlord reported that he hadn't been able to contact his tenant, Beverly, for several days. The next day, a woman found a brown handbag near the Fitzroy River. The documents inside the bag identified the owner as 36-year-old Beverly. Beverly's family informed the police that her disappearance might be related to her ex-husband, Richard. Richard had a criminal record, and he candidly admitted that he indeed had a tumultuous relationship with Beverly. The last time he saw Beverly was 5 weeks prior. At this point, the police began to suspect that these three disappearance cases might be somehow connected. Were Scott, Michael, and Richard the perpetrators? As the police were grappling with these three missing person cases, an even more alarming disappearance occurred. On April 22, 1999, around 3:15 p.m., 9-year-old Kara was walking home briskly. She crossed an open field, completely unaware that a man was stealthily following her. The man attacked Kara from behind, knocking her unconscious on the spot, and then quickly ran away. A few minutes later, the man returned in a red car, tossed Kara into the trunk, and sped off. All of this was witnessed by a couple in a nearby house who were sitting on their porch, sipping tea. Regrettably, they did not immediately intervene when they saw Kara being attacked, nor did they promptly call the police after seeing the man drive away with her. Instead, they inexplicably waited half an hour before reporting the incident. Upon receiving the report, the police quickly arrived at the scene. They found one of Kara's shoes and her backpack at the crime scene. In a nearby grassy area, they discovered footprints and tire tracks. According to the couple's description, the suspect was a tall white male with brown hair, wearing a white t-shirt and yellow shorts. The police immediately released the suspect's information to the media, hoping the public would actively provide leads. Around 8 p.m. that night, a prison guard recognized the man from the news. He informed the police that the man was a former inmate from the prison where he worked, and he was certain he hadn't mistaken the man's identity. The inmate was none other than Leonard Fraser. The prison guard stated that on the morning of the incident, he had driven his child to high school and spotted Fraser on the road, wearing a white t-shirt and yellow shorts. The police immediately conducted a surprise check of Fraser's residence and brought him and his live-in girlfriend to the police station for questioning. The police discovered that Fraser's criminal history was both lengthy and notorious. He dropped out of school at the age of 15 and engaged in theft, fighting, assaulting police officers, and raping women. In short, he had committed nearly every crime one could think of. Over the following 22 years, he spent 20 years in prison. The police found Fraser's red sedan parked in front of his house, and in the car's trunk, they discovered bloodstains. Inside the car, they found dirt and weeds, as well as some strands of female hair and a black shoelace. 3 days after Fraser's arrest, another person reported that his 19-year-old girlfriend, Sylvia, had been missing for over a week. The last time he saw Sylvia, she was talking to a man who turned out to be the recently arrested Fraser. Based on all the evidence, the police believed that Fraser was significantly connected to the current missing persons cases. To help you understand the timeline, let's review the events once more. August 31st, 1998, 14-year-old high school student Natasha went missing after school. December 27th, 1998, 39-year-old Julie went missing after an argument with her boyfriend. March 1st, 1999, 36-year-old Beverly went missing. April 22nd, 1999, 9-year-old Kara went missing after school. April 25th, 1999, 19-year-old Sylvia was reported missing for a week. Upon further investigation, the police learned that the bowling alley Natasha often visited was also a place Fraser frequented. Julie and Fraser were co-workers at the same beef processing plant. Besides that, Beverly's ex-husband Richard had been in the same prison as Fraser, and Beverly's home was located only a few dozen meters away from Fraser's house. Kira had been stalked by Fraser for several days before the incident, and Sylvia had purchased illegal substances through Fraser. Despite this, the police only had substantial physical evidence for Kira's case, and no direct evidence for the other 4 cases. However, a week after Fraser's arrest, a prisoner named Brett, who was still serving his sentence, contacted the police, saying he could help the police solve the case. Brett claimed to know Fraser well because 8 years earlier, the two had served time in the same prison. Brett agreed to help the police get close to Fraser and obtain information about the serial case. With Brett's assistance, the police found the hidden murder weapon at Fraser's residence, and DNA testing confirmed it belonged to 9-year-old Kira. Upon learning that the police had obtained conclusive evidence, Fraser agreed to help them locate where he had disposed of Kira, but he refused to face the deceased 9-year-old girl at the scene and hid from a distance, letting the police inspect the site. On May 7, 1999, the police charged Fraser with first-degree kidnapping and murder of Kira. 2 weeks later, forensic experts confirmed that the blood found in Fraser's car belonged to the 5th victim, 19-year-old Sylvia. However, the police still had no direct evidence to charge him for the other 3 victims. Meanwhile, as Fraser awaited trial, he was transferred to the prison in Brisbane, where the inmates clearly did not welcome the villain, who had killed a 9-year-old girl. They frequently caused trouble for Fraser, who soon became isolated. The police saw this as an opportunity and approached an inmate named Alan, who had previously served time with Fraser at a prison in New South Wales. The police persuaded Alan to extract a confession from Fraser. Although Alan was no saint himself, he disapproved of Fraser's actions against the 9-year-old girl and readily agreed to the police's request. After installing a listening device, Alan gradually yielded results. In November 1999, with Alan's help, Fraser was charged again for Sylvia's case, and the judge sentenced him to life imprisonment. Good news continued to come from Alan's side as the police clearly heard Fraser's conversation with Alan through the listening device. In one conversation, Fraser revealed that upon learning that the first victim, Natasha, was pregnant, he stabbed the 14-year-old girl and buried her under a mango tree near a farm. Similarly, he detailed his plans for the second victim, Julie, and the third victim, Beverly. Encouraged by Alan, Fraser reached a settlement agreement with the police, promising to help them locate the victims he had disposed of in exchange for a separate cell, safe from the other prisoners. Under Fraser's guidance, the police found all victims except Natasha and discovered numerous personal belongings of the victims in Fraser's home. Some jewelry was confirmed by Natasha's mother to indeed belong to the 14-year-old girl. Armed with this evidence, on March 31, 2003, the police filed a lawsuit against Fraser for the remaining 3 victims' cases. However, an unexpected twist left everyone in shock. On April 10, 2003, Natasha's father was pulled aside by a police officer who asked him to take a phone call and confirm if the person on the other end was indeed Natasha, who had been missing for over 4 years. The poor father didn't believe his daughter was still alive. Despite a series of questions in his mind, he answered the phone. The girl's voice on the other end was very similar to Natasha's, but he still couldn't be 100% sure. So he asked a question that only a family member would know. "What did I used to call you when you were little?" The girl on the phone cried and said, "I love you, Daddy. It's Grasshopper." Hearing the answer, the father is shocked. He couldn't believe that his daughter had seemingly come back to life. So what exactly happened? Let's rewind to the day of the incident, August 31st, 1998. At around 8:30 a.m., Natasha's mother dropped off the 14-year-old girl at the school gate. Natasha hugged her mother. However, when school was dismissed in the afternoon, the mother couldn't find Natasha. Although she reported the disappearance to the police immediately, they didn't take it seriously because Natasha had run away from home twice before. Moreover, 2 days after the incident, someone reported seeing Natasha playing an arcade game in a movie theater and then leaving with a man wearing sunglasses. This further confirmed the police's suspicions. They suspected Natasha's boyfriend, Scott, of hiding her, but several searches of his home yielded no results. In fact, it was Scott who hid Natasha, but at her own request. She hid in Scott's residence in Yeppoon, never daring to step outside for fear of being discovered. She covered the windows with thick curtains and avoided purchasing any women's clothing, worried that hanging them out to dry would arouse suspicion. She even made her own sanitary pads using cotton. In this way, she lived there for several years without any of the neighbors discovering her. They all thought only Scott lived there. During the 4.5 years, Natasha only left the house 6 times, each time sneaking out late at night to visit the nearby beach with her boyfriend. In 2002, the secretive couple moved from Yeppoon to Rockhampton, just a 5-minute drive from Natasha's mother's house. Natasha wanted to return home, but she saw on TV that Queensland police had launched the largest search operation. She felt that the situation had escalated to the point of no return. In 2003, 18-year-old Natasha saw the news of Fraser's trial on TV. To her surprise, the news reported that she had been murdered by Fraser. At this point, she believed it was time to do something, so she gathered her courage and called a child protection agency. On the phone, she claimed to be named Sally and told the operator about hiding with her boyfriend, emphasizing that Fraser had not harmed her. The operator immediately called the local police station and reported the entire incident. A police officer at the station tried to trace Natasha's call location but failed. Subsequently, the officer did not report the incident to the major case squad, leaving them unaware that Natasha was still alive until Fraser's court appearance. One day, the police station received an anonymous letter stating that Natasha was alive and providing a phone number. The police traced the number to the home of Natasha's boyfriend, Scott. The police conducted a surprise check at this address and found Natasha, who had been missing for 4.5 years, hiding in a closet in a second-floor bedroom. Afterwards, Natasha stated that she had not been kidnapped by her boyfriend, but had deliberately run away from home, repeatedly begging Scott to help her hide. Scott was eventually found guilty of obstructing justice and perjury, sentenced to 12 months in jail. Natasha, on the other hand, did not receive any punishment. The story of Natasha's resurrection immediately sparked intense interest from the Australian media. Channel 9 paid 200,000 Australian dollars for the TV rights to Natasha's story. In 2008, Natasha and Scott finally tied the knot, and the broadcasting and filming rights for their wedding were sold to the renowned women's magazine Women's Day for 200,000 Australian dollars. In total, Natasha made 400,000 Australian dollars from her story alone. This caused great dissatisfaction among the public because the search for Natasha alone had mobilized thousands of people in a search and rescue operation lasting several months, costing nearly 500,000 Australian dollars. Natasha's intentional concealment and withholding of information was both morally and legally questionable. In 2006, the inspector filed a lawsuit against Natasha, accusing her of deliberately wasting social resources and demanding that she repay 151,000 Australian dollars in criminal investigation expenses. However, the judge ultimately ruled that Natasha did not have to pay the fees. Natasha has now returned to normal life, and after marrying Scott, the once young girl has become a mother to a healthy boy. The family lives a low-key and simple life. Returning to Fraser's trial, Natasha attended the court proceedings as a witness. She explicitly stated that she did not know Fraser and had no idea why he would claim that she had been harmed. The police subsequently dropped the charges against Fraser in Natasha's case. In the end, Fraser was sentenced to 4 life sentences in the serial case. On January 1, 2007, after serving only 4 years of his sentence, Fraser passed away from a sudden heart attack. His death left many questions unanswered, as the police suspected that several other cases were also connected to Fraser. During a conversation with Allen in prison, Fraser admitted to murdering a girl named Sandy Lawrence, who was killed after accepting a ride from him and later dumped near a remote zoo. Fraser also claimed to have murdered an unnamed 18-year-old indigenous girl, but the police found no substantial evidence for these 2 cases. Furthermore, at Fraser's residence alone, police discovered ponytails from 3 different women, which, according to DNA analysis, did not belong to any of the victims in the serial case. Therefore, the police had reason to believe that Fraser's crimes extended far beyond the 4 cases. However, with his death, all the secrets were buried with him. Perhaps he truly committed these crimes, or maybe, like Natasha's case, there would have been an unexpected twist.